Hey, everybody. This is Calvin with Impruver, founder and CEO of the company. I have the privilege to be here with a good friend of mine. Really excited to get a chance to interview him and let him share his thoughts on his experience with using the product as a customer also. So, Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Calvin. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Jim, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself. So, would you mind providing a brief introduction?
Sure. This is Jim Evanoff. I'm currently the CFO of Flavorchem Corporation, a manufacturer of flavors and fragrances. And in addition to my CFO responsibilities, I also manage our supply chain procurement team.
Man of many talents. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, one with a lot of responsibilities, but hopefully things get smooth out a little bit in the global economy, and it makes it a little bit easier on me. But definitely an environment where Impruver was an ally for me as well.
Yeah, you got a really interesting story because with all the supply chain disruptions and just the adjustments you've had to make as a result, and being agile and seeing opportunities and taking advantage has set you guys up on the path that a lot of companies are still kind of reacting to what's happening, while you guys are being really proactive about that. So let's dive into that more in a moment here. So first question though, why'd you decide to try Impruver? What specific problem were you having that you decided to give Impruver a try?
So I specifically was looking at the procurement team that I'm managing, and historically in that experience group of buyers had looked at negotiation skills and the ability to really understand different players in the market and the different dynamics of quality and service as a way to give the best results to the company. Now, in an environment where supply chain interruptions were frequent, where price increases were drastic, a lot of those same talents didn't transfer over into the real environment that we were facing in 2021, going into 2022. And so what I was looking for was an ability to kind of reset some of the skills so that what they focused on in the past was not what they were focusing on in the future. A way to set us apart and differentiate our cost structure in an environment that was very much unlike the ones that they've been facing for probably the last decade or so.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, a lot of companies are still reacting, trying to sort of wait to the new normal. Wait to find out what the new normal is going to be. You guys are being proactive and seeing some opportunities and capturing in the moment, which is really impressive. So what results did you guys end up producing?
Well, so there's two types of results that I'm pleased to report that we got. One is we specifically, assigned 3 different projects to the team members, and each one of them was working on a way of delivering results that would improve working capital for the company. And I think if I was to, try to find a multiple of what we invested versus what we've got, it would probably be in the 20 to 30 times range of how much we invested in the Impruver software and the coaching, and how much we got out of it in a matter of, I'd say, 3 to 4 months. I think the other thing that that's an ROI on this investment that goes much beyond just those projects is what I was hoping to achieve from the very beginning, is a change in mindset, a change in how very experienced, very motivated employees thought about how they could make a difference, how they could improve their performance, by focusing on incremental steps, week to week, knowing that, there's always something that they could do rather than, waiting for a cross-functional partner to come back to them with an email, waiting for some other member to help that project along. How could they push things forward? How could they overcome these barriers? And I think those skills are starting to translate into brand new projects that we'll be using in the future with this team. It's also changing the mindset and collaboration, between team members. So I would say, there's a huge multiple on the projects that I worked on, but there's going to be a dividend that pays off well beyond just these projects, because now they're learning a skill set that's more urgency based, that's more focused on the results that we want. And they know that all of their projects and all their focus was moving towards a common corporate goal. So all those things were new and novel to the way that they were thinking about corporate goals in the past, which was, previously the standard, hey, I've got 5 goals, I got a whole year to hit them. No, you've got one goal in front of you, and I need you to make progress against it every week. You can work with each other, you can talk about it, you can work with me, you can work with coaches, but we are going to, find out what works, what doesn't work. And from their own ideas from the ground up, we're coming with new and novel ways to hit, the goals that we started the year with, but we had no idea how we were going to get there.
Man, that's a fantastic story. And I know you and I, we touch base one-to-one on a weekly basis. And it was just incredible to hear the other stories that was coming out of the Flavorchem experiences, that they were having offline conversations about different things that they could tackle, right? As good target conditions that each individual person could go for. So I thought that was great, because that kind of conversation really wasn't happening before. And now, to your point, like, the mindset changes. It's like, let's look at the business more critically, and having a direction to go for, and their direction kind of followed on from your direction, and having that direction kind of sets them on a path that they kind of know what to look for, what to focus on in order to make improvement. So I think it also speaks to the quality of your team too, in that they want to drive improvement, right? They want to see the business do better. So that was great. I thought that was fantastic. So appreciate you sharing all that with me.
Yeah, and I think there's there was that first week or two of getting over the learning curve over, like, what kind of project should I choose? What can I do that's going to make a difference? And then, once they started getting into the flow of going through that flywheel process, then all of a sudden it started making more sense. And then even, new projects that they were going to attempt down the road started making more sense, and it got there. But they didn't try to, distract themselves and dilute their attention by trying to do too many things at once. They were focused on achieving a result before they moved on. They were focused on working with each other to achieve results before they moved on. And then they saw common patterns in how they were having success or not having success as they worked through those goals, and those were shared with each other as well. So I think awesome. There's a lot of things that I couldn't have done just as a manager of them without having this as a methodology that kind of works towards a learning and sense of urgency.
That's awesome. Okay, so what'd you like best about the software?
What I like best about the software is, one, it focused everybody towards a common goal that I set. So this whole idea of making sure that the focus of the goals kind of cascade up to the most important thing, it's already built into the software. And then when they get going from week to week, they have to create an action. And one of the things that some of them would struggle with, somewhere along the line, whether it's week 1 or week 10, is, how do I take one more step forward if my next action might take 2 or 3 weeks to happen? Well, the sense of how to make an incremental step came up, and there's always something that you can do to take one more incremental step forward. I think too many times you get employees who get bogged down with, hey, I've got to, take one big step forward. Every project should only have a few large steps, and then I'm at the finish line. And maybe we've been mesmerized by too many Gantt charts, but there could be 100 little small steps along the way that get you closer and closer and closer. And every one of those steps gives you a chance to understand whether that's a template for a success story in another project. And if it's not, then we look at it and say, okay, that one didn't work. Let's try something else.
Yeah. I look at it like, the sport of football, right? Where you got, a long-term goal that's like scoring a touchdown. You got the short-term goal, which is like scoring a first down. And then you got your next play, right? And between every play, you call a huddle and you say, you know what, this play either worked well or it didn't work well. Here's the reality. We still got 9 yards to go. What's the next play, right? So you kind of got that weekly cadence in place to sort of have that huddle and then drive the next play with the, every step of the way you're trying to score that first down and then ultimately score those touchdowns, right, as a team. So
yeah, and I think having that cadence of meeting every single week kind of forces them not to let things drift. I think there's a natural tendency at the very beginning for people to say, "Hey, we're meeting on Wednesday. Oh, Tuesday morning, I got to get something in there." And eventually, they start building up a more normal cadence of activities versus results, and they're not pushing things to the end. But if the cadence was every 2 weeks, that's exactly what it would have been. It would have been, "Hey, the day before the 2 week meeting is when I'm trying to accomplish everything in order to be able to talk about it on the call." So the weekly cadence is just enough time for something to happen, but but a short enough time not to let things drift in between action points.
That's it. Okay, that's awesome, man. I appreciate the feedback. What you like best about the flywheel process?
I think the best thing about the flywheel process is once somebody really understands it, it becomes a way of thinking about future projects and future goals. I think people who have been really successful in my department through the skills that whether it's technical skills like negotiation or otherwise, or relationships that they had, they tend to rely on those, and then don't build up new project management type skills. And this methodology allows them to kind of have another tool in their kit that allows them to accelerate their own performance in order to have something, to come back and say, "Hey, when we do performance reviews, I've got all these successes. They're very quantifiable. They're very objective. It's not did you perform and have better relationships with some of our vendors or whatever. It's across things that are very measurable." And in that way, they know how they're doing during the year. You don't need to have as many performance reviews, because you're already doing micro versions of that on a regular basis. And
that's it.
Yeah, and the most important thing is, I think a lot of managers would tend to put off, giving good performance feedback to players who are not struggling. They'd put off giving feedback to like once or twice a year. Here, they're getting regular feedback, regular course corrections. It's just I make it akin to driving a car. You make those, when you're turning the steering wheel and you're roughly going straight, you're making really minor corrections to your steering, and that's keeping you on the road. That's keeping you straight. And in this case, you're making minor corrections, to the behaviors and how they think about interacting with their goals, and that's keeping them straight, and they learn to drive straighter.
Man, that is amazing. I love the analogy, right? It's like making a million micro adjustments along the way, right? And the performance evaluation thing, I was just talking to somebody just a few minutes ago about that, and they said, is this like a to replace performance evaluations? And the reality is, like, it's almost building a fact basis for performance evaluations, right? The intent is to improve business performance, but if people don't perform, the business doesn't perform. I don't know if you can really separate the two. It's not intended to be a performance review thing, but it kind of really does go together well. So, okay. Last question. What are your future plans with Impruver?
Well, I think when I took on Impruver, and I looked at an experienced group of people who I knew would be very receptive to it, but didn't necessarily fit the typical project based methodology. I looked at it as kind of like a beta test. Like, if I can make it work here, I can expand this out. My future thoughts on working with Impruver is putting it where I think the biggest impact is going to be on the business, which is on the operational side. I really think when you start looking at the concepts that a lot of businesses look at with like lean and other efficiency-based things, a lot of that depends on execution. A lot of it depends on being able to measure whether the people who are involved in the process of continuous improvement are really committed to that kind of a lifestyle in their work. And I think that's going to be the area where we're going to find out as an organization, do we have all the right people in all the right places? And are we really committed to the continuous improvement in a way that's going to, make a difference in all those departments in a significant way? And I believe it will. And I believe that as we continue to invest, we're going to have some mindset changes across the department in a way that goes well beyond just the tool.
That's great, man. Really excited to see that happen. So, Jim, that concludes our interview. Thank you so much for coming through and chatting. I think you guys have a great story, and you've already gotten great results, and it's just getting started. So, certainly looking forward to seeing this only grow bigger in magnitude and the type of results you guys will be getting in, let's say, a year from now or more. So, keep up the great work. And thank you for everything you've done for us so far, because you've been really helpful, instrumental in our growth as an early stage business. So
thank you, Calvin.
Yeah, thanks again, man. Yeah. Looking forward to further engagement. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
For anybody interested in learning more about Impruver, you can visit us at impruver.com. That's IMPRUVER.com. And learn more about our software solution. It's an agile strategy execution platform. And we offer a sort of a implementation service called the Flywheel service. And Jim sort of went through some of the details of how that works in this video. So thank you for your time, and look forward to engaging with you soon as well.